ASMR, your go-to one-stop shop for all things ASMR, movies, pop culture, you name it. How are we doing today? I hope you're well. I hope life is treating you in such a succulent and splendid fashion. And if not, I hope that this, I'm going to assume, really long ASMR rundown of my collection is going to satisfy and quench that thirst you may not have even realized you had. Now, if you have been a long-time viewer of this channel, and I know a few of you specifically that I'm about to call out or shout out, sorry, have seen, I made a video probably coming up about like 2 years ago where I broke down or attempted to break down the movie collection that I had back then. I did about 2 parts of them. It was a mess, a total catastrophe. I sought to cover all of the films that I owned alphabetically, close to 500 of them. I recorded 12 hours worth of footage, and I think I got to the letter G. It was a mess. I moved my desk to the middle of the room. I tried recording. What you don't know is in those videos there was an evening where I went from like G to N. Didn't even push the record button. I crashed out like crazy. So we're starting new. Now, I have rearranged my movie collection and segmented it in different areas. So, what I'm going to do tonight is tell you my boutique special edition or smaller films in my collection. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of movies that are all my special editions, the movies that I doubt you've heard a lot of about. And I am going to talk about the stuff I own from the Criterion Collection, from Arrow Video. These are very special to me, but I'm specifically choosing these films in particular because they have such a coveted memory for me, and that was something I was realizing as I was doing my collection videos a couple years ago, was it's impossible to not give each film its due, but also the story and significance behind not only the movie itself, but me owning it, because I have collected films for 15 years in my life. I started when I was like 7, and I can remember the most vivid memories of going to Best Buy, Goodwill, thrifting, getting it as a gift, and so there's not nearly as many. We're gonna get through them, but I also have an entire section that I want to do a separate video on, which is all DVDs, much older films. Those are like nostalgia lane. And then I want to reevaluate my new and improved collection, going alphabetically A to Z. And I really want to hold myself to task so you can watch all of it. But in this video, it is going to be my special editions A through F. So I want you to get nice and cozy. It's gonna be great. I'm standing on a stool right now in my undies. I know that's a bit TMI. Word comfy though, I'm wearing my Arcane shirt. Are you kidding me? This is cozy vibes through and through. I am so excited tonight. Don't forget to like, get nestled up. Hopefully you have a glass of milk if you swing that way. If not, just get a snack, get something nice. And as always, let me know of what your thoughts are on any movie that I shout out that you've never heard of, because there's going to be a lot here. There's going to be some that are unwrapped. This also holds me to task to watch these films. So, I have wasted enough of your time. You're here for the meat. I'm giving you the hors d'oeuvres. Let's get right into this. Alphabetically, we are starting with my first criterion in this video, Afterlife. This comes from a director by the name of Hirokazu Koreeda. This film was life-changing for me. essentially details this hotel or a rest stop of sorts where past deceased souls go to in order to find themselves, but also they're there to recount one memory in their life that they would like to relive before their soul is passed on. And if that concept alone doesn't already blow your mind, this film will shatter you. And I think it is the way that this film is so elegantly filmed and shot. It feels so meditative and quiet. It never makes a theatrics out of anything you see. It is souls who are younger, older, at a very older age, or just different perspectives of people looking back. And with that level of reflection is this more meditative, oftentimes somber ambience. And this film articulates that in ways that there is just things that it will make you feel. It'll make you appreciate a lot of the memories you have in your life. And I mean, I love this poster, the simplicity of it all. Like, look at this thing. Look at how beautiful that is. I love this movie so much. It means a great deal to me. It's funny because I also own a film that came out in 2020 called 9 Days. This film feels like a trailblazer to that. And if I'm going to rate this, it's getting an A+. Let's try rating all these films. I'm also kind of doing this right next to my shelf too, so I can just put the movies back. This next one is going to be the first of a couple A24 exclusives. Pardon me, I'm using one hand here. We have After Sun. Oh my god. This movie shatters me. If you have ever had any tumultuous or difficult relationship with a parent, this film, it may not make you feel like it is affirming the difficulty, but the isolation and the loneliness that it can feel when you have a parent who they themselves don't even fully know who they are. Paul Mescal gives one of my favorite performances in any film I've ever seen, period. And it centers on a father and daughter who go on a trip for the summer. And you see how a parent and child become far more a friend to a friend, or people who are questioning their own sense of worth at past different points in their life. This is, I believe, the directorial debut of the director Charlotte Wells. And if I could ever in my life make something relatively close to as intimate but fracturing as After Sun, I will have done my job. Now, the beautiful thing about the A24 editions that you can get online, where's the opening here? There we go. Pardon me, little lack of professionalism here. I'm just going to set this down right here. Please do not fall. You know what? I'm going to slide this actually right in here. The brilliant thing about the A24 editions is they come with some really beautiful interior artwork, but also, and I won't take out all the cards, but each edition kind of comes with their own little postcards. And here you can see it is Frankie Cairo and Paul Mescal who play daughter and father, and there's a bunch of them. Get the little logo right there. It is things like this which make physical media matter so much, and why I love collecting. People often ask me, like, why would I buy a movie for $30 when I can just stream it? Because of this. Because I get to own something as beautiful and decorated as this edition. If we're rating this thus far, luckily, we have gotten 2 films that are in my top 100 of all time. It's getting an A+, like, without question. Come on now. After that, we have, see, Unwrapped. We have All of Us Strangers. Sorry, I'm trying not to get the glare of the light. This cover is incredible. Look at this. Look at how, like, unique it is. The face of our main character. sort of, I'm trying not to give away the film, but it is these different like cubes indicative of like the apartment building he is living in, but it's just so lonely and isolating. But kind of segueing into the plot of this film, you center on Andrew Scott's character, who is a queer man, not necessarily sexually confused, but more so looking and longing for a person that he can call his own, but also just someone he can confide in. And he is a writer living in, I believe, London, as he is writing a story pertaining to his upbringing, which then sort of, in a metaphysical and figurative way, transports him back into a part of his upbringing with his parents who have since deceased, or one of them has deceased, but he travels back to when they were both alive, and he as an adult gets to interact with them and go through different fleeting moments of his childhood, but as an adult. And here he actually coincidentally meets Paul Mescal, who is a man that is living in the same apartment building as he is, and they strike a very unique, lovely, but very, very sad relationship as two queer men coming into their own. I saw this film in a local theater that was playing it in like an auditorium with 50 seats on a very small screen. And I knew that this was going to be special for a lot of reasons, but one of the main ones was Andrew Scott's performance in this. There is certain ways to convey loneliness, and the way that his eyes dictate entire sonnets, entire essays worth of emotion in pure and utter silence, while also having such an incredible, lucid, and ethereal direction by the filmmaker Andrew Haigh. I knew when I saw this film 2023, I knew it was my favorite of the year. You know, that's hard to beat when Spider-Verse exists. Wonderful, wonderful film with one of the decade's best endings. It's getting an A+. There's a little theme here with how much I love these movies. Now, speaking on brand here, actually, we have Arcane Season 1. Now, why this is in this pile and in this video is because this Blu-ray was distributed by Shout Factory. This is a boutique label that finds places or movies or shows that have not had a physical release, and they bring it into the forefront. There's not much I can say about Arcane that hasn't been said already. What I will note on is, in preparation for Season 2, I went ahead and rewatched every single episode from Season 1, and I can confidently say it's one of the greatest seasons of television that has ever been brought to screen, and maybe the greatest animation there ever was. I'm not an anime purveyor, but I love animation, and the way that this melds animation and integrates it into very profound, mature storytelling, I think is going to define our generation. I was actually going to make a video on it, but I kind of came to terms with a lot of it being a mixed bag, albeit the highs so high, but it being glaringly obvious that the last season was rushed, and it shouldn't have either been a last season or make it 12 episodes. But it really made Season 1 and its cohesion, the fracturing between Piltover and Zahn. Piltover? I think it's Zahn. Piltover, right? Sorry, I want to get my facts right, but yeah, and Zahn. I trust my intuition. And the relationship between Vi and Jinx, Echo, Jace, Victor, everybody was so well thought out. And unfortunately speaking, I just don't think Season 2 carried that. I will say it had me sobbing and in shambles by the end, but it was an end that didn't feel nearly as satisfying as it could have. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Arcane Season 1. on Blu-ray, and you gotta get this. You got it. This comes with like 4 hours of special features. It says like right there. There's some really, really great supplemental material in here. Arcane Season 1 is getting an A+. I love it so very much. Now, I'm gonna try and not go too long with every single thing I own, because we do have quite a bit to get through. Now, another sealed film, and the first in this video I have not seen. We have Army of Darkness on 4K. I own the other 2 Evil Dead films on Blu-ray, but not distributed by Shout Factory. This comes with the theatrical cut, the director's cut, and the international cut. I don't know what the difference is. I am so curious about this film because, like, on the one hand, it's Sam Raimi, and on the other hand, it's Sam Raimi cooking up a medieval zombie blast, and I love this cover. Like, the 80s and 90s and the 70s knew how to cook up some wonderful posters. But what I love so much about Shout Factory releases is they come with, like, I mean, goodness gracious, just to kind of look, they have so many differing kinds of special features and supplements. Again, I've never seen it. I love the 2013 Evil Dead. I love the OG. I love Evil Dead 2. I will certainly get around to watching this. So the rating is TBD, to be determined. Next is actually one of the earlier physical releases. If it is in a word or it's in a book, you cannot get rid of the Babadook. Look at how freaking cool this release is, as if you are reading the Babadook book itself. This film was actually one of the first gateways into horror for me. I saw this when I was 11, and I so intensely remember not being able to sleep. And it's funny because actually for about a month after watching this, like, are you kidding me? Look how terrifying this damn thing is. Like, what? For about a month after I watched this, I slept with the covers over me for an entire month. I was terrified, in shambles. And I think a lot of it has been acknowledging the performance from S.C. Davis, who plays the mother, on a personal level being very similar to the erratic behavior of my biological mother, but on a, like, actual acting perspective, being such a tour de force in a way that I remember shaking me to my fundamental back in 2015, 2014. I adore this film. A lot of people with the rise of TikTok have said how overrated it is. They're crazy. It holds up to an unbelievable degree. The director Jennifer Kent went on to do an even honestly somehow more brutal and difficult film called The Nightingale. Amazing. But she also did a film on The Cabinet of Curiosities, which was a part of the Guillermo del Toro Netflix thing with the same actor, S.C. Davis, and Andrew Lincoln, Rick Grimes. That was amazing. Anyway, my point is, she is an incredible filmmaker. An incredible film. So haunting, so eerie. The Babadook's a gay icon. It's getting an A+. If you understood that reference, I love you. Alright. Now, this next one is going to be wrapped, but I have seen one of the greatest classics ever made. Barry Lyndon. Stanley Kubrick's Barry Lyndon. An expansive epic about a man that you may never be able to say you've hated anyone more like him, and gives one of the greatest performances that has ever graced the screen by Ryan O'Neal. This film is basically a historical epic following one of the craziest gooners alive. I really have no other way to describe this other than it feels like you are watching a farce, like a Monty Python in way. watching Lawrence of Arabia, or a classic but pertaining to a man who is the cowards of coward. And I love every second of it. I wish we brought back intermissions. I love long films. I love them. But a movie that hits you with a good intermission at a perfect point, on top of a film that has some of the greatest use of interior natural light through candlelight, it's amazing. I know I'm sounding like I'm goofing around. It's getting another A+. I love this damn thing. Now we're on to our first box set here of 3 films that I haven't seen, and I am duly sorry for that. We have the Before trilogy, the Richard Linklater, Ethan Hawke, and Julie Depley starring trilogy. This comes with Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, Before Midnight. And what I think is so remarkable about these 3 films is they follow the same 2 leads. And I want to say it is all about them. I've not seen it, but each film takes place a decade, literally, from the making of each film, but also figuratively, narratively speaking, apart from one another. The first one came out in 95, the second one came out in 04, and the third one came out in 2013. And I'm gonna watch it one day. I will, but if I'm going to, I feel like I need to watch all 3 back to back, and it just time evades me. On a literal, conceptual level, nobody is doing it like Richard Linklater, and for that, I love the man. I think, that same approach that he did to a film called Boyhood, which follows the same actor from when he's 8 years old to when he graduates and is in his 20s, is brilliant. It's audacious filmmaking in a way that no one, I think, will ever do in our lifetime, nor would it be able to be made now. I love the look of this with, the pastel colors. Look how wonderful. If it could focus. There we go. Look how wonderful. You got, the spine, even though it's upside down, but it's, made in this material that makes it feel like an old book you would find at the bookstore. So again, ratings to be determined. God, man, I'm gonna make myself out to be like a person who just buys things and I never watch anything. But this next film I have good reason for. This is a movie called Betty Blue. I've not seen this film. It is 3 hours long, and from my understanding, shout out to my dad who told me about this film, and he said, if you're ever gonna watch this, son, you gotta watch it when you're an adult. It essentially turns into a tale about a marriage of sorts that is on the brink of collapse, ebbing and flowing, highs and lows, peaks and valleys, but it's apparently very intimate, oftentimes hypersexual film. I've never seen it. I know not much about it, and that was kind of the point. This is the Criterion. I got it on the Criterion 50% off sale, and I did it for good reason, going in as blind as possible, because I really love that experience, and I think that is something we need to strive for more going forward, going into things blind. So, rating to be determined. I promise you, it will be a trend, but I've seen more than I haven't. Next, we have an incredibly underrated and slept on film. We have Michael Mann's Black Hat, starring Chris Hemsworth. So the unique thing about this movie, which deals all in cyber terrorism and is sort of like a race against the clock following Chris Hemsworth, the character, who is one of the greatest hackers in the world, as he is hired to find someone who is basically threatening and plotting nuclear warfare and hacking everything. What I love so much about this release in particular is it comes with a never-before-seen director's cut that retools the existing film and repurposes scenes in different parts of the film to give it what Michael Mann, the director who did Heat, The Insider, Collateral, intended all along. That is the only version of this film I have ever watched, and it is immaculate. It isn't perfect. Watching Chris Hemsworth as this musclehead in between, I think, filming the first and second Avengers, be out to be the greatest hacker in the world. You have to suspend your belief to a pretty big degree, and the relationship doesn't always work in the film, but the digital filmmaking on display by Michael Mann is next to none in terms of his predecessors or competitors. He literally occupies an entire space on his own. But I love this film. There are moments in here where your blood is going to be absolutely flowing through your veins. Adrenaline is kicking in. And I quite adore it, I want to say. Yeah, the fun, unique thing is it comes with a US and an international version, and then the director's cut. All three films range between runtimes of 134 minutes, 133, 132. Typically, director's cuts are longer. I think it's the shortest. This getting an A-. I still love this film despite its flaws. Now we're cooking with another one of my favorites. A film that I think is essential viewing with a poster that is so good. Criterion knows how to do posters. You have Brian De Palma's Blowout, the remake to the 1950s Blow Up, following, get this premise, a sound designer of films, snuff films to be exact, recording audio at night, just of nature, as he somehow comes into contact with recording what he believes to be a staged murder, and thus he uses his footage, his auditory, to try and trace who and the why behind it. But he's going down a rabbit hole. Brian De Palma, oftentimes people say, faded out with a flicker, but he was once in conversations and in contention with the likes of Francis Ford Coppola, Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese, but because of his big, bold vision and his inability to waver, he has been lost in the shuffle and in the sauce. In my opinion, the man never truly lost his spark or his essence. He did the first Mission Impossible. He did an incredible movie that I'm about to talk about in a minute. And he also did a film called Snake Eyes with Nicolas Cage. That's coming out on 4K soon. I'm gonna need to add that to the collection. This film is divine. Some of the greatest pieces of imagery and composition that you could ever watch being put to screen. I adore everything about this. It is one of my favorites. A+. Oh, man. Oh, rest in frickin' peace. We have David Lynch's Blue Velvet. Look at this cover. Are you frickin' kidding me? This will never not be hard. This will never not be a difficult pill to swallow with the passing of one of the greatest filmmakers that, frankly, I haven't seen Blue Velvet, and I haven't seen basically anything but Inland Empire, which I know is kind of an insane end to his filmography. And to me, when I found out about his passing, I sort of took a step back, because even though I don't know from personal experience, having connected with his films, I have never witnessed a passing of an artist on social media have such an impact in at least the bubble that I live in on social media more than David Lynch. And with Blue Velvet, with Mulholland Drive, with Lost Highway, Wild at Heart, Twin Peaks, I'm gonna need to take it with reverence and caution, and that applies to Blue Velvet. I just want to admire the look of this. I will get to this. I unwrapped it. I think I started watching it like a couple years ago, and I never finished it. And I know when I do, I'm gonna be a changed person. So, to be determined. Next actually is one of the most recent films I got, which is the 4K to Luca Guadagnino's Bones and All. Now what I think, hear the scrunchiness, oh my god. What I think is so fascinating about Bones and All, Timothy Chalamet, get out of here, Taylor Russell, is when I first watched it, I didn't really think it was amazing. amazing. Anything to write home about. But it is the kind of movie where, because there is so many people that say, oh my god, this is one of the best movies ever. There's a person on Twitter that had, like, the running joke is that they have seen it 500 times, and I believe them. I feel like I'm missing something. And what I can't admit is I think this is an immaculately shot and looking movie that I'm gonna get around to rewatching, because for right now, it's at a B, but I'm gonna get back onto it. I really, really will. It's like every time I put a movie back and I see which next one I'm gonna talk about, I get chills. Because here we have, firstly, look at this damn cover. Look at this damn cover. Hold on, let's focus. Do you see that? Do you see that real quick? Oh my god. This is the Wachowski sisters' debut feature, Bound, starring Gina Gershon and Jennifer Tilly. If you're a horror fan, you know Jennifer Tilly from Chucky. Sorry, I had to think about it because I've never seen Chucky. I know. This, to me, is such an influential piece of art in the ways that I think if there's any aspiring filmmaker out there, they need to put this into their veins yesterday. $4 million budget, a film so overtly and honest and expressively queer about the forbidden nature for which love towards queer people by queer people in a world that denotes it as wrong can feel like a secret, but when you get to embrace it, it is a celebration. All behind the backdrop of like crime and mafia, and it is so amazing. This is one of the rare few movies that I can put on in at any time, and I'll be locked in. It takes place pretty much entirely in the confines of an apartment complex with these two in them, and it's basically them trying to flee the clutches of one of the women's mafia husbands, partners, boyfriends, and things get ugly. Things get ugly. The Wachowski sisters are one of my favorite filmmakers. This is no exception. An A+, resoundingly so. I adore Bound. If you've never seen it, you need to watch it. I actually still own the DVD. Certain things that I'll never give up. That's for another video, though. Next, we have The Boy and the Heron, Hayao Miyazaki's out-of-retirement celebration, a movie I watched 3 times in theaters, and I get it. If you couldn't vibe with it, I fully understand if it was a movie that was not for you. It speaks in its own codex and language, but for my money, The Boy and the Heron is probably Hayao Miyazaki's most personal film about himself, about the yearn from a child to a parent to be themselves, to connect. And I know you might not even get that by watching the film, but I think the context of Hayao Miyazaki as an artist who's been doing this for decades, coming out of retirement to make this film, I freaking adore the crap out of this. Some of the greatest animation the 21st century has ever seen. I love this thing so much. A+. A+. Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. Brotherhood of the Wolf, or as I like to call it, basically Bloodborne live action. And it's funny because the creators of Bloodborne cite this film as visual inspiration. It's amazing. Imagine a period piece, werewolf, horror, gothic tale with martial arts in a post-Matrix era with, I mean, look, I don't want to spoil this thing. I love this so much, though. Like, I cannot even joke with you. I would lay my life down for this movie. Oh man, it's a little scratched, I just noticed. That's upsetting, but this movie's amazing. Another Shout Factory release, chock full with special features. You have to watch the director's cut. It's 2.5 hours. It is a slower build, but this movie is like a cabinet of curiosities, a bag of tricks and a half. I frankly don't think there's ever been a movie quite like this, and we'll never get a movie in this day and age of a studio system the way it is quite like this. And all I will say, and why I give this movie a flat frickin' A, or a fat frickin' A, there is a bit where you see woman's breasts that then their transition into mountains. It is the transition of an intimate lovemaking scene into the people expeditioning on mountaintops. It's crazy. It is so crazy. I love this film so much. It's getting an A. It's getting a fat freaking A. Alright, now, another Brian De Palma film in one of my favorite box sets ever. We have Please Don't Fall. Perfect. We have Carlito's Way, a film I actually watched a few months ago for the first time, starring Sean Penn and Al Pacino in his greatest role, hands down. This movie is all about the desperation in one man who is attempting to escape the crime world, but at every turn is thrusted back into it out of his control. You watch a man try to make right with the people that he has wronged, while also starting a new life, but it keeps pulling him back in. This is a movie that, like, frankly, knocked me on my butt. I'm trying to take it out without making too much noise. I love this damn film so much. It comes with this crazy ass poster. Like, I don't even know how I can show you this, but I won't like try to actually unfold it. It's just essentially that you have like the new poster that I just showed you the cover of, but it also comes with the classic poster as well, and it's a meaty poster, like one you could hang up in a theater, and it comes with like a 90-page booklet, and oh man, I love physical media, man. Did you guys know that? I'm like a big physical media guy. So yeah, let me go put this back in. This film is so damn good. It is the kind of like lightning in a bottle filmmaking that you watch and you're like, yeah, this director knows what he's doing. I could watch this movie over and over and over again. People say Al Pacino's the greatest actor or one of the greats. I didn't fully understand what they meant. I saw The Irishman, I was like, okay, I think I see what you're saying. But then I saw this, and I fully knew. All bets were off. Amazing, amazing filmmaking. Are you kidding me? That ending, those last 30 minutes had me levitating. A+. Huge, huge, huge shift here. We have how would I describe this movie? How would I describe certain women? This movie has an aura to itself that centers on a three, yeah. I'm just trying to fact check myself. 3 different stories, yeah. Starring Laura Dern, Michelle Williams, Kelly, wait, what's her name? Lily Gladstone, I'm so sorry. Killers of the Flower Moon, Kristen Stewart. All about 3 women's different experiences and moments in their life. And what I think makes this so interesting is by then you may not even know why you are witnessing their stories unfold the way that it is. And I can't even say when the credits roll, you will understand the full point. But you let this movie take hold of you in its frigid, cold, desolate atmosphere. And my God, this movie will sink into your skin and embed itself straight into your psyche. Very few films are able to capture the visual essence of feeling like you're on your own, capturing what it means to be a person trying to connect with human beings. This movie absolutely rocked me, and it's so interesting because I didn't cry in the movie, nor do I base a film's impact based off of if it made me produce tears, but it's a film that like I've thought about periodically throughout my day-to-day, here and there, and it almost makes me tear up. And I think that is the sign of a brilliant film. Kelly Reichardt is a filmmaker that I need to tap more into. If you have not seen Certain Women, it may not be for you, but give it a shot. Give it a shot, my friends. Next is a film that I've actually recommended quite a bit on my TikTok. Follow it if you haven't, links in the bio. We have Columbus. This is directed by, now I might be botching this information, a at once YouTube essayist turned filmmaker by the name of Kogonada, starring John Cho, White Castle, Harold and Kumar. He played Spike Spiegel in the live action. We don't talk about that. This film is a force, and often, again, actually kind of similar to Certain Women in a couple ways. You really don't know where or why or the journey that you are being pushed through. But again, it's yet another film that highlights the connectivity in being alone, of feeling alone, of wanting to gravitate towards people, leaning on people, loving people, and embracing just humanity, especially in the face of grief and death. And it's so interesting that this comes from a filmmaker who was once an essayist, because it feels like it has this look and aesthetic to itself, as it really highlights architecture and the beauty of the world through grief. I love this thing so much. It's another A+. I would recommend checking it out. I actually own the director's follow-up film, After Yang. I'll talk about that in another video. That wink, if you didn't know. Ooh, and a great box set. We're almost done with row 1. I'm feeling very proud of ourselves. How are we doing? I hope there's no bumps in the technical department, because if so, this is a lot of unusable footage. I tried testing it. I think we're good though. Next up though, oh my god, one of my favorite, gotta be careful there, one of my favorite box sets. We have Crimson Peak. Hear this, do you hear this? Oh my god. This is one of the, if not biggest, box set I own to a single film. Like, I have box sets that I hang up on my, like, top shelf of, like, movie combo packs, but nothing for a single movie. Like, are you kidding me? Look how freaking beautiful and detailed this whole thing is. I love this box set. It's funny, I don't want to say I love this film, because that's actually partially the reason why I got it, is because I don't know if I love it. Oh my god, oh my god. Sorry, we're going all natural. I almost dropped everything. I won't go through everything here, because that is like 10 minutes that I could talk about. But again, look at this physical media at top always. You have cards of all the characters. I completely forgot Charlie Hunnam was in this. This, funny enough, I've always said was my least favorite Del Toro film. And it's the one that I remember the least. But it's a film that I've seen clips of on Twitter. And obviously, it swayed me enough so to get it on physical. And it's sad because I really was trying to push to watching it during Halloween time, and I sadly didn't, and I really regret not doing so. But let me know, because again, Guillermo del Toro, easily top 10 filmmakers of all time, and I really want to give this movie another shot. And again, this physical collection is why movies matter, why collecting them matter. I know you can't really see, but it comes with its own poster. Get real, guys. Start collecting physical media if you don't already. I love Guillermo del Toro, and it's so funny, like, as I am making this video and cycling through my thoughts and feelings on certain movies, I'm like, wait a minute, I want to watch this again. So from my recollection, this is getting a B. It could move up, and I really do think it's going to. You know, I'm going to set this right here, because I have 2 more films. Let me slide that down there. It's gonna collapse a little bit. That's okay. That's okay. We have another Al Pacino film directed by William Friedkin. freaking cruising. Holy moly, this movie is a lot. It is intense, it is abrasive, but it was boundary pushing for its time, following a detective kind of tracking down a killer who is targeting queer bars and massacring people, and he goes undercover. And this movie was so prolific for its time because William Friedkin himself would actually go to very prolific, popular queer bars in New York, and he would show everything. And I think it was so necessary for its time, as we now get to appreciate a lot of film now. I don't adore this film as much as I wish I could have. I think the movie kind of meanders in spots here and there, but when it really wants to distill a vibe, it knows how to do it in spades. I think it is a film that will only improve on rewatches, but for now, it's gonna get a B+. Again, Al Pacino, great. Not Carlito's Way great, but still so good. Sorry, I'm definitely trying to make sure I'm not making too much noise because the last film on this row, we're nailing this, guys, is, we talk about vibe, Kiyoshi Kurosawa's Cure. Holy hell. This movie, one of my favorite endings of all time, but funny enough, an ending I didn't like when I first watched it. And I think that kind of goes to the merit of this movie. This stars Koji Yakusho, who was just in 2023's Perfect Days, hugely slept on film. This movie is again a sort of like police procedural detective story about a man. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure that I get this correct. Yeah, so it's like a string of murders, but like these murders are connected but committed by different people, and this detective is convinced that he will find out who it is. And when he gets a certain lead, this person possesses a unique ability that he's never seen before. And we talk about dreamlike. This is nightmare fuel. Not a single jump scare is in this film, but I think it's for the better because you're watching a film so wholly original, like you've never seen before. I love this film so much. There is a scene involving like a prison cell that is so unnerving. I remember like I was thinking like, what movie am I watching? I don't often use this term, but it is a chameleon of a movie. A+, resoundingly so. Alright, my friends, we have moved from the top shelf to this next one. And I think we just need to jump right into it. We are basically rounding out the letter C with, actually, this might not mean anything to you, but one of the first Blu-ray Criterion releases, and it actually is maybe the only Criterion with a regular Blu-ray case. I love this slip cover though, like, or not the slip, the regular cover. I wish it came with a slip cover, I don't know why it isn't, but I remember I got this off of eBay for like 20 bucks. A lot of people charge much higher for a movie that I do think has its issues. It has its flaws, but gosh darn it, do I love an empathetic, tender David Fincher. David Fincher, the man who did Gone Girl, 7, Fight Club, The Game, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, makes a film so endearing about a man born old in a baby's body that then dies as an infant in a baby's body. What? I mean, Benjamin Button disease, a lot of people know this story, but not enough people have seen this film, and I frankly adore it. I think the relationship formed between Brad Pitt, Benjamin Button, and Cate Blanchett is so intoxicating, so mesmerizing. I really do need to rewatch this. I distinctly remember he worked with a DP named Claudio Miranda, who did like Tron Legacy. I want to rewatch this. For right now, it's getting a B+. Now we're on to the D's. And I think way to start it than with a take. We have the Darjeeling Limited, the Wes Anderson directed, Owen Wilson, Jason Schwartzman, and Adrian Brody starring film about three brothers who go on a train on a trip to go visit their mother. To go and essentially, actually, wait, no, I'm so sorry. Reunites a meticulously planned soul searching across India. The death of their father that just so happens to have their mother involvement coinciding. This is my favorite Wes Anderson movie. And I feel like I just sounded like a fraud because I almost forgot the plot. But when people talk about the best of Wes Anderson, I don't think enough people bring up the Darjeeling Limited, a movie that balances a synthesis of Wes Anderson's style, but with an aching, beating heart behind it. People will say that The Royal Tenenbaums, which I do also have, is his most sad, vulnerable film. I would say The Darjeeling Limited is in strong contention with Asteroid City, beating that out. This movie orients a script so palpable in kind of navigating and sifting through the stages of grief. Each brother is going through a different one, and thus a different performance is elicited. I mean, like, this cover is so freaking cool. I love the artists that they commissioned to do these covers, and it's all, like, 70% of it's on an entire train. I love Wes Anderson, but this is the movie that made me adore him. It's getting an A+. Oh man, again, I talk about these films and it makes me want to rewatch them. Next, we have Wrapped. Maybe actually one of the top priority films that I need to get on in this collection. We have Terrence Malick's Days of Heaven Criterion on 4K. I don't know much about this film, so I really don't want to be blowing smoke out of my butt. What I do know is a little story behind this. This is shot by, what's his name? There's a DP. Oh yeah, Haskell Wexler, the DP behind this film. People coin and credit Days of Heaven for having such a lush visual style to this. What people do not know is the DP was actively going blind during the making of the film. So in a way, its over beautifully lit color palette is almost because he couldn't see anywhere else. So he had to kind of turn to what he knew and salvage what was remaining to make this look as beautiful as ever. I have never seen Days of Heaven, but I really do want to make an effort akin to Lynch to jump into Terrence Malick's filmography. I will save actually what I think is his best film, because I have seen a couple of them, for later, to be determined on what my thoughts on Days of Heaven are. This next one, talk about underrated films. Underrated, maybe one of the greatest films of the past 20 years. We have Park Chan-wook's Decision to Leave, a movie so, I'm gonna use that term again, chameleon-esque, where it's like 10 different genres and styles of film put onto like a tray, a platter for you to indulge on. This film is following a detective who arrives at a murder scene, but he begins to suspect that the deceased man's wife has a lot to play. And so, like, you follow a detective as he begins to get a bit more enthralled into the case and involved in a way that bridges lines. Now, on top of this just being an incredibly poignant and enthralling thriller, this movie is okay, look at this. I don't know if you can see that, but like, it's the two actors or characters and they're handcuffed together. That says a lot about the movie. But like, we talk about visual elements in filmmaking, Decision to Leave may be one of the most beautiful films, one of the most meticulously shot movies I've ever seen, to a point actually kind of akin to David literature, where it makes film feel like a science that they themselves are the madman behind, cooking up all the chemicals and recipes that to them it is easy. But I couldn't even put my brain to half of what they're able to cook up. This movie's amazing. A++, 1,000%. And now we're getting into, I actually think, one of the first big box sets I had gotten from Criterion, and one of my all-time favorite movies as well. We have Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing, a film that it just somehow becomes even, I'm trying to make it focus. Is it going to focus? There we go. Even more poignant as the times progress. But for a film that came out in 1989, written, directed, starring Spike Lee, you just don't get the energy that is in this film like you would anywhere else. This film encapsulates the heat, the ferocity of the time on the hottest day in New York when the ACs have broken, and you just center on this block, this city block of all different kinds of creatures, all different kinds of walks of life. And it is a beautiful, damning tale about diversity, love, inclusivity, and perseverance in a lot of ways. It's a damn good masterpiece, and it's a booklet that comes, actually, I want to say, in here it comes with a 100-page booklet that is just so informative. It's this booklet right here. It says, Do the Right Thing, and I believe this is Spike Lee's production company logo, 4 acres and a mule. I want to say that's what that is. But this, the beauty about Criterion, is they pour everything into a book that is all about the behind the scenes, the making of. You just don't get it anywhere else, guys. I really I cannot overstate that if these videos symbolize one thing, it's to protect physical media at all costs. I mean, look at that. That's Radio Raheem. So good. I forget that actor's name. He plays J. Jonah Jameson's editor in the Spider-Man Raimi films. But yeah, my God, I love this film. Give me 1 second. Okay, so little brief edit there. I was able to put it back. It wrestled with me. I wrestled even more. So sliding that back to next talk about a movie that I think deserved way more attention than it got when it came out in 2021. This is Drive My Car. So, one thing this movie does that we talk about intermissions. I wish they brought back intermissions. One thing that a movie does, rarely, but when they do, it's straight chills. Straight chills. I sit up. It's that meme of the guy relaxing comfortably in his chair, and then he locks in. He sits up and locks in. Is when films drop their title cards 15, 20, 30, or in this case 40 minutes into the movie. You know you're in for a bona fide classic. And Drive My Car is a very slow burn about a playwright whose life really shifts after he and his partner kind of go through something pretty intense. And so you kind of document this man's change internally. A person who's not very expressive, just goes through life as this very stern, callous at times individual. And thus, he travels to a place to kind of begin writing his next show. And in it, he meets this woman who is sort of his driver, as he has to be driven places for his safety, and they strike a very keen relationship. Now this movie, I think, is just flooring on every capacity, and again, it's another type of movie that you watch, and it's so slow and so procedural towards how it goes about detailing its characters, the journey that they've gone through, and what they're going through, and it feels so human that you can almost miss the essence of it. But when that film finished, I sat back and I was like, disagree anymore. So, if you've seen it, I love you. If you haven't, I still love you. Go watch it though. Next, another Criterion. It's like films are being sandwiched by Criterion box sets. A comfort movie through and through. We have, sorry, I grabbed it a little weird. We have Fantastic Mr. Fox, the Fantastic Mr. Fox. What else can be said about a film whose timelessness just hits like crack every year during the fall time? It's a movie that has endless rewatchability. George Clooney and Meryl Streep. We don't give enough love to voice acting performances. They are so unreal in these movies, or in this role, in this movie. As a couple who's been married for years, and it's like, what are we doing? Like, why are they so good in this? I love this film so much. One of the most fun things you could do if you're a fan of Fantastic Mr. Fox is take some time, look up the behind the scenes making of. Wes Anderson records his actors doing a lot of the things live instead of just being behind a booth. It's amazing. A+. Oh, I'm so sorry. I've been skipping out. Do the right thing. A+. Drive my car. A+. Fantastic Mr. Fox. A+. I know. I'm really promising you that a lot of these movies I've bought later in life, and I don't really purchase movies that I don't love, and I do love a lot. So I feel like that's kind of why I promise. I'm not just saying that just to say it, because actually we're about to talk about a movie that does have quite a lot of flaws, but one that I still love. Another Criterion. We have David Fincher's The Game. Such a dope cover. Now, to my understanding, this film came right after he did Seven. Right before he did Fight Club, right? 1997. I want to say that checks out. My point in saying, we all know Seven is a masterpiece, but not enough people talk about how crazy The Game is and how great it is at establishing tone. We follow Michael Douglas, a very, very astute businessman of sorts, who has a brother, I believe his name is Connie, played by Sean Penn, who gives him this sort of experience called The Game, and his whole entire life changes, flips on its axis, God's eyes watching him, everyone is in on it but him in a Truman Show-esque way. And what I think works is, I think, on paper, this could be played for something so much more silly than it actually is. But David Fincher commits, and it is so much fun to watch a man lose himself into insanity. I will admit, though, it loses itself a bit towards the end. People complain about the ending. I actually love the ending, but it's more so the third act, I think, punches a bit above the stakes that were set up before it. So I'm gonna give this a B+. I still love it, though. I still so heavily love it. Alright, next we have one of the more recent Criterion purchases, and one that I have been waiting for so long. We have the Greg Araki Teen Apocalypse box set collection, I guess you could say. It has totally effed up the Doom generation and Nowhere. These were three of one of the most prolific filmmakers, especially in the LA scene, Greg Araki's early works. These you couldn't really buy anywhere unless you found a DVD through like the shady dealer in the corner of a library. And they're fully restored 4K. They look amazing. I've only seen totally effed up, but Greg Araki, man, like, having such a sturdy, confident, and assured queer filmmaker discussing the real ins and outs of being queer amidst the AIDS epidemic, and feeling completely alien in a world that, and especially an area, as someone who lives in California, frequents Los Angeles, has family that live out there. It's an ecosystem, and there is so much flamboyance and eccentric looks, but oftentimes it is people who are so scared and they don't know who they are and they're trying to figure it out, and it's like a coming of age film, and it's only like 70 minutes. I haven't seen The Doom Generation or Nowhere, one of the films on my to-do list, like one of the earliest films I ever watched listed on Letterboxd, actually is Mysterious Skin. But off of one movie alone, I can immediately tell that Greg Araki is someone that, like, I know he's cooking up a film with like Charlie XCX, but I really do think he's quietly etched himself into the iconography of queer cinema. Totally effed up. He's getting an A for me. I still need to see Doom Generation and Nowhere though. But I love it. I love it. And we're gonna actually maintain a sort of similar prerogative, but for a vastly different film. A great film. We have right here, look at this cover. Look at the, come on. Come, there we go. Hedwig and the Angry Inch. A wonderful, wonderful musical statement piece, directed, written, and starring John Cameron Mitchell. This is like one of my favorite musicals of all time, and it's an adaptation from a play. And I really do think John Cameron Mitchell is a visionary filmmaker, actually kind of akin to Greg Araki in a lot of ways, who you may not even know the movie you're about to get into, but there are certain flares and visual garnishes, if you will, that as you're watching you're like, oh, that 100% is an Araki or a Mitchell film. He's amazing. I think like to me, we talk about such wonderful auteurs just in their element. This is that in abundance. I love this movie. He did a movie, it came out in like 2007, I want to say, called Short Bus. I have had that on my radar for so long. The way that he's able to frame and just sculpt the human body in the scenes while it just being such a maximalist film. I love it. It's getting an A from me. Now we're going on to a film that, like, I don't know why I haven't watched it yet, and it makes me so sad. A movie that, like, actually similar again to the Araki trilogy, was kind of like lost for so long. You had to find it, pirate it somewhere online, but they finally restored it in Magnifico 4K restoration. We have I Am Cuba. So this film really does depict Cuba, I believe, 1964. And to me, the in I heard from this was just how much of a tour de force it was in just political cinema. And it documents different people's lives and subsets of Cuba, from the bustling life of the city to the small, intimate, like, lives of people on the streets. And what I found while watching some of this, it is a pretty beefy movie, almost 2.5 hours long, but I definitely want to give it its time. And it's the kind of movie, like, if you start, you can immediately tell it is something that you really need to commit to, because it has such a look to itself, this handheld filmmaking that feels like it is commanding your attention. And I frankly, like, as someone whose grandparents were born in Cuba and they immigrated to Miami, to Los Angeles, and I'm here because of them, I feel like there is really nothing else out there that can show the beauty of my ancestors the way that this film does. So tentatively, it's getting an A+, but I really do need to sit down and give it some extra love. And I will. Oh, I will. Trust me, I'm really going to make it a mission. I think one of my issues, part of last year, and especially in 2023, was I would just mass purchase all these films. and obviously it wasn't good for my bank account. But I started to realize that, like, I don't value them nearly as much as I should, and I really, really need to. So that's really going to be something I'm going to initiate, is not buy as much and focus on the things that I haven't seen. Next, we have a film that's wrapped, but I love and I've seen. Okay, I'm beating the allegations here. Oh, excuse me. The Coen brothers inside Llewyn Davis. Look at that kitty cat. Look at that cute cat. I love this cover. I think, like, if you've never seen Inside Llewyn Davis, I could almost bet if you've had TikTok and you see some of, like, the core edits where it has, like, Ryan Gosling, Tyler Durden, you've probably seen an image of Oscar Isaac in this. It is a very depressing film, but one that, like, you find, like, solace and comfort in the dreariness of an aspiring musician trying so desperately to make himself known, and it just doesn't seem to work. And so it's kind of like you go throughout the streets of New York, and it goes through different landscapes, but it's all set behind the backdrop of, like, the frigid cold winter, and it's a very cozy film. And I say that with, like, a shot of irony, because a lot of this is very depressing, very, very melancholic. I love it though, and again, like, a lot of these criterions I am purchasing when they're doing, like, the half-off sale, because you really cannot go wrong. I do think this movie can easily shoot up to being like an A+ for me, but for now, because I haven't seen it in years, literal years, I'm giving it an A. I love Inside Llewyn Davis, and I love Oscar Isaac so much. Next up, we have Opened, but I have not seen. I am so sorry. We have In the Mood for, In the Mood for Love. I was almost, like, blocking out the look at it, oh, so good, so freaking good. Talk about filmmakers, Wong Kar-wai. Oh my god, look at that. Holy, I'm sorry, like, I'm just like, there's covers that just take me, like, by so surprise. And I love this cover so much. From what I've heard, this is up there as, like, some of the most romantic and intimate imagery ever in a movie. But there's no, like, actual lovemaking involved. And that to me is the sign that you have really made it as a filmmaker, if you can encapsulate an idea without actually doing it, a thought, a word, or an action through a glance. And I mean, this alone kind of elicits that sort of idea, notion already. So I need to watch it. I really, really do, trust me. And I promise I will. Ooh, next, we have a film that is so damaged physically, and it makes me so sad because I love this. It looks completely fine. We have The Invitation, but if you check, look at that. Are you kidding me? So lame. I should have returned this. I don't know why I didn't. Like, this is horrible, and I love this movie so much. It's actually interesting because I've never purchased anything by this boutique label. They go by the name of Draft House. Let's see if we'll focus. By the name of Draft House Films. I really don't know. I've never heard of anything they've ever distributed before. But nonetheless, I saw this movie probably back when I was like 13 or 14 on Netflix, and it really is the sort of chamber bottle piece that makes you really want to make a movie. It centers on, like, this man who goes with his partner to an old flings, like, home warming party, and it's all these different couples, as you really begin to realize that the couple whose home these people are in maybe aren't all there completely. And I quite literally think this movie is so like tight-knit and well executed in ways that, like, you kind of scratch your head. And we talk about endings, we don't talk about final shots enough that just kind of wrap the movie up, but make you feel so freaking uneasy. The last shot of this film is so damn good, that it's actually like one of the biggest inspirations by like why I'm like shooting this video, why I love filmmaking and art. I love this movie. It isn't perfect. I think certain performances kind of like lose the sauce a little bit, and it feels like certain parts kind of get a little bit like melodramatic. But for the most part, this movie is so damn good. I'm gonna give it an A minus, because I certainly, as a kid, like watching the film, I hadn't watched it nearly enough, and I put it up on a pedestal. But damn, it is a really good thriller. And then next, I did bring this movie up earlier. Maybe the longest film that I have presented, but I think maybe like the most rewarding if you follow through on it. And actually, a movie that when I first saw it, I thought it was just okay. But when I rewatched The Irishman with some age, some perspective, and some true knowledge of the craft, it sunk like bricks in an ocean, like a mafia member drowning in the ocean. Man. And what's even crazier to me is I once considered The Irishman to be Martin Scorsese's crowning jewel, his magnum opus, but then he somehow goes and outdoes himself in Killers of the Flower Moon. I don't know. Why are we comparing favorite children here? This movie is so brilliant, kind of documenting and chronicling the life of all these different characters based off of real individuals, as you follow De Niro, Pacino, Joe Pesci, all of these actors that have been Martin Scorsese alums and just Hollywood alums, as they all just churn in their best roles yet. And to me, I know it's 209 minutes, but if you're going to be 209 minutes, you better stick that ending. And for me, there is a shot in the film, but De Niro's performance specifically makes me so sad. And 2019 was such a stacked year for film, one of my favorite years for film. In fact, you had like Waves, Little Women, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Booksmart, like all these really great movies. And this film just like, it slipped in the cracks. And you know that's a sign of a damn good year if a Martin Scorsese film this damn good was slipping through the cracks. It's an A+ for me. If you tried watching it and didn't finish it, please give it another shot. I promise you, it is amazing. It's getting an A+ for me. Come on. Oh, it's such a enthralling watch, and one that I just think is kind of just gonna get better with time as well. And it's gonna be the worst feeling in the world when Pacino, De Niro, Pesci, they pass, but at least they're able to kind of capstone their lives in a project like that. So next, we have a film that, actually, a film that I was watching, and I actually got pretty far into it, but it was so good, so engaging, that I just knew I couldn't at the time. I actually was just out of the hospital. I had some pretty intense surgery, and I remember I was like, I want to watch something good. I put on, I haven't even taken it out. What am I doing? I'm so sorry. I got this as a gift on Christmas of 2023. We have Oliver Stone's JFK. This is an unbelievable behemoth of a collection. You have 4 discs. Each contain their own sort of thing. Whether it is the theatrical cut, you have the 4K, and then also the director's cut, which again, I'm trying to see the runtime here. 4 minutes shy of The Irishman at 205 minutes. This movie is like a monstrosity. It is Godzilla, and I am just a puny morsel of a human being running. And like, Yeah, like it follows the sort of brewing mystery and the case behind JFK's assassination. But what I really do think is kind of the craziest part about JFK is it doesn't just live and die on the hill of what is fact, because there were so many theories, conspiracies, and ideas thrown during that time of who, what, and why behind the assassination. And it entertains it in ways that, like, as I was getting deeper and deeper into this film, and one of the craziest traits behind this is there is actors left and right that you will recognize that is only in this movie for like 5 to 10 minutes, and like you realize that the rabbit hole is getting deeper and deeper, and because of that, like I'm like, whoa, okay, I need to scale it back for a minute. So I will rewatch this or watch it and finish it. For now, though, it's getting an A. I don't want to give it an A plus yet because I don't really feel like I could grasp where the film was going to go, and I've heard that back end gets kind of insane. So, gonna keep that in here for now. We're making good pace. Oh shoot. Please don't make a noise, please don't make a noise. Alright, second. Alright, and then next, a classic. A certified classic, if I may. But a movie, unfortunately, in a release that I do think was very disappointing. And this is one of the only times I will critique Shout Factory. I love this cover. We have Krampus, the naughty cut. Unfortunately, this case got like stepped on, like not nice. I took it to a party once and got so damaged. I'm really sad about that. Take care of your physical media, guys. Ew, and there's like a goopy goop. Man, I'm sad. But this movie's great. From the director of Trick or Treat, Michael Dougherty. I actually think I might like this more than Trick or Treat. Really kind of spinning Christmas on its head, making fun of the capitalist angle to it all, the dysfunction in the family, and Krampus, a thing that exists when you don't believe and you stop believing and you're naughty, all in this house in a blizzard. Adam Scott, Tony Collette, David Koechner, the guy from Anchorman. I think that's what his name is. I could be totally wrong. Yeah, no, David Koechner. Amazing movie. So fun, so silly. It doesn't take itself very seriously, but it kicks itself into high gear as the film continues to progress. The practical effects. There are so many good creature designs in this movie. I love this damn thing so much. It isn't the best though. Like, it says the naughty cut, and it really framed itself as this director's cut, but it's only like 3 minutes longer. One thing I do wish it went committing into was akin to Trick or Treat. I wish it really pushed that intense R rating. Give me some blood, give me some gore. But what we got, I still love. It's getting a B plus from me. There we have it. Gosh, man, look at us. Look at us, we're almost done with this second row. It's enough to make a grown man cry. And then next, we have a movie actually I really will not spend too much time on. Quaidan. I really know nothing about this, except for the fact that it's 3 hours long. And this was a movie that I bought completely blind. It was during a Criterion sale. I love the poster here. I hear it is a very dreamlike-esque movie, and it's like told through different like vignettes of like ghost stories. Yeah, that's what I'm reading. I haven't seen it. I will get around to it. I can't really comment though. I do apologize. I feel like I've been giving such thorough thoughts on things, but I have no angle to really hit that film at. Next though, a more recent purchase of a terrific slept-on gem of last year. We have another A24 release. We got ourselves Love, Lies, Bleeding, the Kristen Stewart, Katie O'Brien film. Can I just say, I love when movies are just gay. Like, I think what is so profound about the modern era of movie making we are in is people are just tired of, I guess, the kind of people that I love are just tired of boring, straight movies, what I think is so great about this time and this era of filmmaking is you are having queer voices telling queer stories in this unbridled, beautiful way. Like, this film is this neon-soaked thrill ride of blood and intensity, but so much beauty and testosterone and like drugs. It's so good. Rose Glass, the director behind this, she directed a film, her debut, called Saint Maud. So terrifying, so unnerving. And this film, it makes me just want to love. And it's wild. I love Kristen Stewart, it really is. Sorry, I'm trying to get the back image here. That actress right there, Katie O'Brien, who really steals the show. It was the first time I'd ever seen her in anything. And for my money, if I rewatched this, it might crack my top 10. If you're this far into the video, I will be releasing my favorites of that year. Coming soon. I need to rewatch a couple movies. Quite a few A24 films I need to rewatch. This is getting an A. God, I love this film. Next, though, is a movie that when people are like, you've never seen The Godfather, I'm like, no. You've never seen Back to the Future? No. But there is something so upsetting, in my opinion, about having not seen Spike Lee's Malcolm X. And again, I got the juicy booklet, still unopened, over 200 minutes. I've seen images, like the 4 stills on Twitter. I've seen clips. I know I will love this movie. I know as it is, and it's funny because I've been doing a lot of retrospective to different filmmakers, especially like the ones that have passed. And with Denzel Washington, I sort of did a retrospective with his involvement with Tony Scott. Denzel Washington's the greatest actor alive. He puts his own little panache and flair to performances, and you really don't know if it was a director's note, but I really do think it's just him, and him playing one of the most prolific figures of history, Malcolm X. It feels like just kismet. Like it was gonna happen, and I just need to watch it. So I will tell you when I watch it what I think, because I would like to do also like a retrospective. Like, sorry, I really do not want to hurt my movie. I'll do like a retrospective video, kind of talking about the films again in like a couple years when my physical media collection has grown. But lastly, to kind of get the letter M, yeah, we're getting through the M's. But the last film in this row, we have Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, another A24. I actually think this was the first A24 movie. Maybe. No, Midsommar was. That's over there. Another video. But man, we talk about comfort movies. We talk about warm hugs in movies. I would put my life for this damn shell. This little cute thing. Are you kidding me? They're the sweetest. A film so seeped about family, so deeply personal about the pursuit and just not saying no when everyone says that you should stop, and this little shell wants to find their family so bad. I wept. I have a really fond memory of watching this film with someone at the time that mattered quite a lot to me. Since drifted, gone our separate ways, but I think that's why doing these videos of kind of breaking down my collection, I would be doing just the biggest disservice by, here, movie, alright, next one, because I'm holding a film that I bought and it came in the mail and I gotta bring to someone's house and show them this. They wept, I wept, and it was a moment in time. And for that alone, I'm going to cherish this movie forever. I saw it in the theater. I loved it. I saw it again in that moment. I adored it. It's getting an A+, and thus rounds out shelf number 2 of 4. Alright, so in the magic of editing, we have repositioned ourselves comfy. So we are on the third of 4 rows here. Now, I do think this is probably going to be the fastest row that I go through. Actually, technically, the bottom is going to be, because I only have 6 movies down here. A lot more room for growth. But unfortunately, there's quite a bit here that I haven't seen. But let's stop describing the meal. Let's start eating on it. Here, we have a film called McCabe and Miss Miller. I got this as a gift on Christmas 2 years ago. And it was actually a really interesting pick. It felt very inspired. And, you know, I feel like I'm an easy gift giver when I just say, give me a movie. Give me any movie. And this person had me as like a Secret Santa. And I haven't seen any Robert Altman film. I love Warren Beatty, though. I saw Dick Tracy a long time ago. So I think I'll get a kick out of it. Westerns are certainly outside of my wheelhouse. But I do want to watch more classics. In 1971. Pretty classic. So, there we have it with that one. Again, can't really rate it. But, and then I did rate, Marcel the Shell. Sorry, I just was making sure Marcel the Shell got an A+. I'm almost certain I did, though. Alright. The next one. Bong Joon-ho, director of Parasite, Snowpiercer, Okja, the host. Memories of Murder. Maybe the one film by him that people say is like not only his best, but one that really, in terms of like murder mysteries, whodunits, I don't know. I really don't know. I believe this has the actor from Parasite in it, but I certainly like, as well with like other films that I've kind of detailed, I have certainly tried my best to know as little about the film as possible. Even stayed away from like shots and stuff of the film because I really don't want to know anything. Like, this cover is so crazy. So friggin' crazy. I'm gonna get around to it. I told my friend that we're gonna watch fill in the gaps of the Bong Joon-ho films we haven't seen leading up to Mickey 17. They're actually, as the recording of this video is being made, they re-released Parasite in theaters. So, I think now is the time and ever to be determined with this rating, I guess. But this next one I have seen, and I think this one kind of takes a minute or two to describe before we really kind of give my full thoughts on this. This next film is one that I hold incredibly dear to my heart. One that I, although may not understand to the full depth of its significance on a literal level because of the topic at hand, this is a movie. We talk about equating movies 2 times. This was a movie that I watched the day before I graduated high school by just pure circumstance. And I don't think there may ever be a movie that has been so closely correlated to a time that I needed to watch it in my life than when I did, with a documentary titled Minding the Gap, directed by Bing Liu. This film is basically a documentary with the filmmaker being best friends with 2 skateboarders, including himself, and he sort of documents their day-to-day life, but underneath all of that, the reason why they skateboard, the religion for which they live off of being skateboarding. And you realize for them, it isn't just skateboarding, but it's a way of life. It is a sense of purpose, a sense of drive, and the reasons why they do it: to escape, to sink their teeth into life. I found this to be unbelievably moving, and it continues to get like that every single year, because in a lot of ways, these friends don't have much anything else. And at least, and again, sorry if this has changed, yet nothing has, if that makes any sense. And I find myself in a lot more of a self-imposed, isolating rut because I don't feel as passionate about where I'm at. So, watching a movie where these guys don't really know themselves either, it's, incredibly moving. Sorry, I went on a little thing there. I do thank you if you have stuck it out this far. Next, we have a film by a filmmaker that I have never seen any film, including this, from, but one that I will most certainly be getting to. And if for anything, for the cover of this alone, we have Andrei Tarkovsky's Mirror. So, I don't know too much about Tarkovsky, to be frank. I do know that he is a filmmaker that taps into the zenith point of, like, making a real place shot on location look like it is out of this world. And with Mirror, I have heard nothing but like a resounding appreciation for the visual approach to this movie. I most certainly will need to get onto some Tarkovsky, and again, akin to Lynch, akin to a lot of the filmmakers on here, I really just want to give these films my all, and I know I need to be in the right headspace, and as well too, like, this is a booklet, and I know that with the booklets, I don't want to just watch the movie and discard everything else. I know I want to read and go in depth with the booklets, so I will give this film my time. I really will. I promise you, Tarkovsky. I know he's rolling in his grave. What are you doing, Cinephile? But I'm getting there, my friend. Next up, we have a movie that actually I thought more people loved, on the level that I do at least, and it contains maybe my favorite Keanu Reeves performance. We have My Own Private Idaho, directed by Gus Van Sant, starring River Phoenix and Keanu Reeves. Rest in peace, River. God only knows the kind of work he could have been doing if the world didn't take him. Because we talk about, like, films that are the embodiment of being queer and not knowing yourself in a crazy time of transformation in adolescence, adulthood. What I think is so interesting about My Own Private Idaho is you have no idea the kind of movie that you're really getting into, as these two people feel like phantoms moving throughout life, as they speak in riddles at times. But you know what is connected to them is their yearning to be seen and to be felt. And by God, I think the movie works. It's like puzzle pieces that you really don't know the origin behind, but you love them all the more. And I love this film so much. I think about it quite often. And another filmmaker, again, this is an ever-increasing trend, Gus Van Sant. Elephant, Milk, Jerry. There's no one that is doing it from what I've heard and glimpses and seen, like, in this, quite like him. This is going to get an A+ for me. I actually think when I reviewed it, I put it a lot lower, but I know I really want to give it a rewatch and make sure that I did give it its due. So the next film I actually talked about earlier when we were talking about a certain film that I need to watch. Now, this movie is so interesting in the fact that I have never heard anyone say that it is their favorite out of this filmmaker's body of work. But having seen a few of his films, I can, with like every ounce of me in my chest, say that Terrence Malick's The New World is one of the greatest films ever made. One of the most astonishingly beautiful films that I've ever seen, in a way that makes me bust out into an accent that I don't know if it's like British or Lubezki, one of the most acclaimed cinematographers of our time, shooting this film, directed by Terrence Malick, retelling the story of John Adams and Pocahontas, about love, about cementing yourself as a person of the earth, but also of human body and human form. To me, there is actually, we're about to talk about 2 other Terrence Malick films I own that I actually haven't seen yet. But The New World carries with it this elegance, this kineticism and poetry to its filmmaking. And the way that Terrence Malick goes about shooting his own projects, where he kind of lets things unfold naturally. Emmanuel Lubezki, Chivo, the DP, goes with his camera and he walks around as if he himself is a character with these actors. And it's profound. It's artistry. It's this incredibly detailed, interwoven tapestry that you step out and you're like, there's no other film or filmmaker or DP that makes you feel as in tune with the world, quite like Terrence and Emmanuel. A plus, A friggin' plus. Plus Colin Farrell in this is so brilliant. I love Colin Farrell. I still need to watch The Penguin. I'm gonna get to it. And it's funny, I feel like these movies share a lot of similarities, because the next film I'm gonna talk about, Minding the Gap, was a story for me in the origin behind watching it. This next film, it actually comes with 2 movies, but the title film is kind of a concept so good that it makes me angry that I didn't think about it before. And I'll just leave you with this thought before I talk about it. Have you ever had a person in your life that you have wanted so desperately to get to know, once if they were at a different point in their life? Meaning, like, for me, I think about, like, could my dad and I be friends if we were the same age? If I met him in high school or something, like, you think about things like that. This movie is that articulated in a film form. We have Petite Maman from the director of, do I want to say it? No, I don't want to say it, because actually I'm going to talk about another movie she made in a minute or 2. This movie is incredible, about a mother and daughter who go to their old house after the grandmother or the mother's mom passes. And as they're, like, bringing old rememberings and boxes of clothes and stuff, and are in the process of kind of putting that in the past, the little girl envisions meeting a young girl, about like 11 or 12, that is the mother, but as a child, and the relationship and the kinship that they form. It's only like 70 minutes, and it actually comes with the director's, one of her earlier screenplays, in a stop motion form called My Life as a Zucchini. Both of these films are so tender and earnest, beyond just the confines of trying to tell an elaborate story and just existing in emotion. They're both, I would say Petite Maman is an A+ work for me. My Life as a Zucchini is like an A-. That film is only like 60 minutes. It could be like 2 hours. But I love this film. Oh, and next up, no, sorry. We're going, oh my god, dude, okay. Alright, buddy. Alright, I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to cause some chaos. I should be cutting this out, but it's okay. It's okay, guys. We're going on the rip. I'm feeling good, I'm feeling confident. Alright. Next up, we have Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, the stop-motion animated motion is the future, man. Stop motion. We talk about. I've been saying we, like, you guys are in complete agreement with me. I hope you would, because I'm right. Stop motion needs to be the art form that I think is the most elevated, the most respected, because right now it isn't. And it truly is a relic of the past in terms of artistic integrity and approach. You spend 4 or 5 years, you have animators working on like 20 seconds of the film, their entire job. I love it. And what I think makes Pinocchio stand out is it's a film that tells a story so old, so ancient, and reinforces the timelessness of it by an art form that is stop motion. And apart from it being an incredible story about like fascism, found family, sorry if you hear my stomach, I had a candy bar in between takes. Maybe I shouldn't have, but it's just added sound. But on a serious note, I think to me, Del Toro came out and said, like a year ago, that he has maybe like 1 or 2 more live action films in him, and he really wants to spend the remaining years he has as an artist focusing solely on stop motion. I at first was really sad about that, but then you watch Pinocchio and you're like, this dude can make whatever he wants. And rest in peace to the co-director Mark Gustafsson, who worked on stuff like Fantastic Mr. Fox with Wes Anderson, because this movie is so brilliant. It's so beautiful, so vibrant and colorful. The way that it deals with the afterlife, morality, mortality. A warm hug. This and Fantastic Mr. Fox would cure my depression. It's an A+. That bit where Pinocchio looks at the statue of Jesus in the church and he's like, how come people love and respect him but not me? What? Who are you, Guillermo? Who are you? So, this next one is, you can probably hear it, let me do. It's a steelbook, but again, I can't really say too much because I have never seen Point Break. I do think that the director, Catherine Bigelow, is kind of a chameleon of a filmmaker. Like, you now are making war pieces like Zero Dark 30, The Hurt Locker, Detroit, but she was making such insane films like, is it called like Near Dark, Point Break, one of my favorite films, Strange Days. But I have not seen Point Break. I really want to. I will get to it. I love the Steelbook, but my rating is undecided. I will see. Oh shoot. Okay. Now this next one, I was saying that I'm gonna wait to talk about another filmmaker's work, Celine Sciamma, because she, in between writing My Life as a Zucchini and making Petite Maman, she made a soul-crushing, vacating movie following the, I don't even know, like, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, guys. I feel like that makes all sense when, and if you've seen Portrait of a Lady on Fire. See, I'm a sucker for period pieces, especially ones that are pertaining to love. Pride and Prejudice, Little Women, Atonement, like, get real for a second. Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Yeah, it's a movie. It's in my top 15 of all time. It looks like it was shot through the hands of God himself, because it's undeniable. So how like rich and captivating it is. I feel like I'm at a loss of words trying to describe this movie, because it's so palpably intoxicating that it makes me think about the way it ends. Therapy exists, A+. I mean, yeah, guys, I'm sorry. I wish I could be a bit more wordy like I am with so many of these other films. But, like, frankly speaking, I can't. I can't. This, on the other hand, John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. What a sleeper hit. I bought this on a complete whim. And it's like, let me read you the plot real quick. Because it's, what the hell? A group of graduate students and scientists uncover an ancient canister in an abandoned church. But when they open it, they inadvertently unleash a strange liquid and an evil force on all of humanity. So, this to me is maybe John Carpenter's best written film, right? He wrote it? I don't wanna actually. Oh, he didn't write it. I am so sorry. It's one of John Carpenter, one of the best screenplays in a John Carpenter film. I apologize. Because you sort of have what is being prophesized and seen as this all-consuming evil in a church with scientists, young graduate students, and people of faith. And it begins to test each of them, and it begins to reaffirm certain existing stances while also challenging them in ways that they couldn't even believe. And it's so freaking good. It is so freaking good. It has the actor who plays Dr. Loomis in Halloween. People talk about The Thing. People talk about Halloween, Christine, The Fog. People need to be on that Prince of Darkness pack. Yeah, I would say an A. I love this film. And, you know, he does his own score, and he knows how to compose damn score so well. I love that film. If you've never seen it, what are you doing? So this next film, I can almost guarantee that none of you have heard before. It is titled Quadrophenia. This film has its notoriety because its score is composed by The Who. It was released in 1979. And think of The Breakfast Club meets Train Spotting following a group of pretty terrible British adolescent teens in the midst of high school as they do some horrible things. This is my dad's favorite movie of all time. And I remember buying this when I was super duper young, and I watched it. I haven't seen it since. And the ending and everything that leads up to it, I sat there scratching my head as to what the hell I just watched. But I did because of my dad. And it looks really cool. Like, I really like the cover of this. I think it's super duper sick. But I do think it sort of deserves a reassessment, because there was no way I was going to be able to understand what was being thrown at me at 15. Right now, I'm going to give it a B+, but it's heavily subject to change. I know, I told you guys there's going to be some really, really odd movies that I'm going to be spitting at you guys. Next up, we have Wes Anderson's The Royal Tenenbaums. So, The Royal Tenenbaums, a lot of times I hear come up as Wes Anderson's best movie. And I think it is the one that if you watch all of his early films, I think it's the one that, like, is the key turning in to the notch, and it's unlocking the door for the Wes Anderson that we know and love. I really enjoy it. I really, really enjoy it. I think that when it comes to Wes Anderson, and I'm warming up to a majority of his projects, but there is just some that don't hit me, don't elevate my senses the way that others do. And I think when it comes to the Royal Tenenbaums, I think it's just one that doesn't necessarily work for me as much, and I can't pinpoint a reason why. Ben Stiller's amazing. I wish he was in more Wes Anderson. Luke Wilson, fantastic. Gwyneth Paltrow, Gene Hackman, Catherine O'Hara, I believe her name is. It's a great dynamic. It's wonderfully shot. It just misses that zest for me, and I wish I could figure out why. And when I was watching it, even as I was watching it, I was like, okay, I'm gonna wait for that watch to switch, but it didn't. I'm really sad it didn't, because for me, it's a B. I really enjoy it, but again, like, I love Darjeeling Limited, so maybe I'm just a weird guy. I'm just a weirdo, but it's not bad. It's not bad, guys. I promise you, it's good stuff. It's really good stuff. What is this? Oh, okay. Again, I'm so sorry. Not much I can say, but I did get The Returning of the Living Dead from Shout Factory. I had actually gotten this with Army of Darkness and Prince of Darkness. A lot of darkness. I have not seen this. It was on sale. I heard great things. I mean, it has two zombies that look like punk rockers, like Sid and Nancy type stuff. I really want to get more into older zombie films, especially the work of like George Romero. So, if you've seen this, let me know, because I have not. Sorry, guys. I feel like I'm disappointing, but I have to hold myself to task. Don't slip on me. Next, we have Francis Ford Coppola's Rumble Fish. This is maybe top 5 biggest surprise first watches of last year for me. Starring Matt Dillon and Mickey Rourke. After having seen Megalopolis, the event that was Megalopolis, I have come to terms with the fact that Francis Ford Coppola, there is no pinning him, there's no doubting him, no tapping into like what he will ever make next, because he is the Godfather, he's the Conversation, he is Apocalypse Now, but then he's also like later stage Coppola, Megalopolis Coppola, and then Rumblefish Coppola. A movie so dream state like, and really centers on loving someone so much that you want to be them but also be there for them. And it looks incredible. The black and white is so stark and intense, and Matt Dillon is so sweaty but also cryptic, and the movie doesn't really reveal itself fully, and it never fully does in a way that you expect, but you can't deny the beauty in this relationship between a younger and older brother. And for me, like, that's the thing that I really unlocked with Coppola last year, was you won't fully ever understand it to the degree that you may want, but you can feel it if you allow it. And Rumblefish was an A+ for me. I was swept away. And it's shorter too. It's like around 90 minutes. It's so freaking good, man. So freaking good. And then after that, we were like in the midst of the S's. We're getting there, guys. A 1966 film directed by John Frankenheimer called Seconds. Think the elite, cloning, body duplication, new life. This movie is a trip. An absolute whirlwind of just insanity. Essentially, a man elects himself to undergo a strange and elaborate procedure in which he is going to be granted a new life. Starting over, he moves to America, but it isn't easy the way that he thinks, and he starts to become paranoid and regretful, and it gets like very Twilight Zone-esque. It's a crazy freaking movie, one that will take you on all these different directions. It's a great time. I'm gonna give it like an A-, I think. It definitely like is a movie that like you really have to be on its wavelength for. Not to say that you won't be, but it gets weird and it looks incredible. Like it is shot so supremely for a 1960s movie. Just so good. Now I'm gonna keep this one brief. I'm gonna really keep this one brief, guys. Just get it out of the way. Seven Samurai, I have not seen. Every day I see this, I regret the fact that I have never seen Seven Samurai. Some of my favorite films of all time. The filmmakers credit this film I've never seen it. I am sorry. I'm moving past this out of sheer embarrassment. I am so sorry. Next, though, is a movie I have seen, and I would love to put you on. It is titled Shallow Grave, directed by Danny Boyle, the director of Trainspotting, 28 Days Later, Steve Jobs, stars Ewan McGregor, Christopher Eccleston, I think like the 10th Doctor, the 9th Doctor, maybe the 9th Doctor, I think. And it's basically a film about 3 flatmates who are looking to get a 4th roommate in their flat. And they go through this whole interview process until they land on this gentleman. Seems very friendly. Things go okay. But when they kind of don't know where he is and his door's locked, they find him unconscious, deceased, and underneath his bed is a suitcase worth of so much money. And so they begin questioning whether they should turn his body in or hide it and keep the money. This movie's insane. Talk about an escalation in tension. This to me is, and from what I read, was a huge turning point, 1994, for British filmmaking in terms of like how abrasive it is, how intense, how outlandish it gets. But my God, does this movie get so unnerving, because you realize these people are not who they describe. They are willing to go to great lengths to cover up what it is that they feel in this pursuit of money. It is so crazy. It's a flat A. I love it. Ewan McGregor's like in a dress at a point in the movie, and he has makeup on. The performances are so wonderful. Christopher Eccleston, I definitely, like, he was so good. I considered watching Doctor Who. No shame against Doctor Who. I just never had interest. It's great though. It's super duper good. And actually, a more also recent pick for me, I got on Christmas. We have another Del Toro film, The Shape of Water, that was just introduced into the Criterion Collection. I absolutely adore this movie. So much so that it's funny because when the film had come out in 2017, I owned it on Blu-ray, but I knew I needed to get this when it was announced. I tried watching it several times, and like, you ever have those movies that you're like, I'm gonna watch it, and you never do, you never finish it, and it started getting me so angry, and I'm not even joking, I probably did it, like, started and stopped within the first 30 minutes of it 4 times, until I sat myself down, like, I chained myself up. I said, okay, Cinephile, I'm gonna watch this. I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I did. We talk about, like, Toni Collette not getting an Oscar nomination for Hereditary, but what's somehow even worse, no shame on Frances McDormand or shade her way. She was good in 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Sally Hawkins gives one of my favorite performances in a movie I've ever seen. She is so good acting alongside this fish. And Del Toro's love for the odd creatures of the world will never not inspire me to no end. And it's a movie about love. It's a movie about connection and seeing straight through to the core of someone. And it's a movie about the love stories. It's so good. It's so good. There's a subplot with her neighbor, and it's oh my God. It's a movie that, like, sometimes I think about it, I really want to cry. A+, obviously. So beautiful. So beautiful. If you've never seen it, what are you doing? Now, this next box set is actually a total of 6 movies. No, 5 movies. I'm so sorry. This is the Steve McQueen Small Acts Collection. Steve McQueen is the director of 12 Years a Slave, Widows, Shame, Hunger, Small Axe Collection documents all these different people's lives set, I believe, throughout the late 60s and 70s as they battled discrimination and so many different things. There's a plot about this restaurant continually being shut down by the police. They go to court and it's a bit of like a court trial film. There's a segment called Lovers Rock where it is all entirely about this house party that happens and the vibrancy of that. There is one that has John Boyega from Star Wars as he is joining the police academy. There's one about a boy in school, and although I do think they range in quality, it's rock solid. And what I will say, despite my flaws with certain of the segments, the shorts, and they range, like the longest one is 2 hours, the shortest one's like 60 minutes, is you can tell they're all made by the same person. And every single film has something to say. And although I do think the mileage varies, it is so well put together. And this edition comes with like an entire 2-hour-long documentary. I never watched it, and I definitely should. But Steve McQueen, although I do think his movie last year, Blitz, the Saoirse Ronan one, didn't hit nearly as much, I will always show up for every single thing that man does. He is beyond talented. Beyond talented. So, I think as a whole, I would give it like an A-, strong B+. But like, there's a segment in there that's one of my favorites. It's the party one. That one is so freaking good. Alright. Next. Sorry, I'm having a reach. We have Southland Tales, or as I like to call it, the best Dwayne Johnson performance you will ever see in a movie in your entire damn life. There may never be a more post 9/11 film, a war, panic, Bush era presidency movie from the director of Donnie Darko at a point in his career where he could have made anything. Donnie Darko made so much money, was such a hit, it was gangbusters, but he doubled down and said, I'm gonna do an original film. An original he did, because you can never know if this film is being satire, serious, jovial, lighthearted. There is, his character in that movie is called Jericho Kane. Jericho Kane. It has Sean William Scott from American Pie, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but somehow a soundtrack composed by Moby, if you know who that is, but somehow, with an ending whose VFX is so bad, it was finished by VFX artists from UCLA that were actually students, not true professionals. But the ending hits so well, so perfect. And I really do think that this movie has shaped a lot of the way that I view being unapologetic in storytelling and never compromising for anyone to waver your own perspective in storytelling devices. It's brilliant, and luckily this edition comes with the director. It's actually called the Cannes Cut, because it premiered at the Cannes Film Festival back in 2003 or 4, and they were like, nope, you need to cut this down. So the director cut 25 minutes. It's amazing. I love that film so damn much. It's a trip and a half, but one that I will always take. Oh, I'm shaking this damn thing. Sorry. Alright, guys. We're almost done. We are less than 10 movies left. And a film, again, one of my dad's favorite movies, Streets of Fire. The Walter Hill directed, the Warriors filmmaker directed movie. The best way I can describe this is it's like a rock opera together, commingle. The soundtrack is amazing. Willem Dafoe's in this movie, and he is a crazy madman. I like this movie. I didn't love it, and I really wanted to because I know my dad enjoys this movie so much, and I wanted to be on the same wavelength as him. I just couldn't, unfortunately. It made me very, very sad that I couldn't. But the score is great, and there's a bit that involves like a performance, and I was like, wow, oh my god, amazing, amazing. So, yeah, I would give it like a B, to be honest, like a solid B. It's okay. It's good, like good, but I wish it was great. Now, these next two films I am going to lump together, coincidentally, alphabetically. They are next to one another, but both films I have not seen, and they're by the same chef. So, the first one is Terrence Malick's The Tree of Life. Now, this comes in both the theatrical, it's not focusing, sorry, theatrical, there we go, and director's cut. I unfortunately have not seen this movie all the way through. I wish I did, because every single thing that I have seen about this movie looks amazing, and it's like, what am I doing having not seen this? But also, I have Terrence Malick's The Thin Red Line, and to me, what I am so entranced by with this is a war film directed by Terrence Malick kind of sounds unbelievable and too good to be true. I don't know. I think, to me, I want to see the direction he can take a cast like this, but also this is shot by John Dole, who's a DP I so deeply admire. He has shot films like Almost Famous, a lot of the later stage Wachowski sister stuff. So, when it comes to both of these, undecided in terms of like rating, but I will get to them. I will most certainly get to them. Alright though, my friends, we are in the bottom roster. Now, I didn't feel the need to kind of reposition because there's only a few. And I will say we only have one more of a thing that I own that I have not seen. I am so sorry that I've been disappointing you guys this evening, but this is one that I've known for a while that I really have to go in as vigilant with as possible and just go with an open mind, because it, I've heard, is so dense. We have Barry Jenkins' The Underground Railroad. So, my relationship when it has come to The Underground Railroad has been Barry Jenkins. It literally was for me maybe like the filmmaker that back like in 2016 saw Moonlight. It devastated me. I was shattered, and I was like, what is he gonna do next? And I remember seeing the trailer for If Beale Street Could Talk, and I never saw it, and to this day I still haven't. And I think like that to me has been the biggest detractor from like just jumping straight in to this, because it's like I would like to see the evolution from Moonlight to Beale Street to what he has considered his most challenging work yet. And then he did Mufasa. Sorry, that's just, I still kind of don't believe that's real. And it's like, I have heard nothing but the most empathetic and adorational things. Adorational, I don't think is a word, but like people adore this, and I've heard more and more since its release on the Criterion Collection that it is Jenkins' opus. If you've seen it, let me know. I really don't know what I would think of it. I know I would love it, but like how Now this is the longest movie here at a whopping 287 minutes. Stars. Oh my god, what's his name? Why is it forgetting me? Or escaping me, I'm sorry. His name. Guys, I'm so sorry. Give me 1 second. He just passed. William Hurt. Stars William Hurt. And okay, so this is 287 minutes long, 5 hours. So let me just describe to you this plot real quick. This is a film conceived as the ultimate road movie. It is a film that was decades in the making, and it's an epic from Wim Wenders as you follow a restless Claire across continents as she pursues a mysterious stranger, played by Hurt, in possession of a device that can make the blind see and bring dream images to waking life, with an eclectic soundtrack that gathers a host of the director's favorites. So basically, it is a long, giant road trip film. What got me so interested in it to begin with was the fact that it was a film that, as it was being made, it was like the train's tracks were being built as it was chugging along. Because midway through, it lost money, so then it had to be retooled, but then money was found and it was spent, and money was found and it was spent. And it is like the most insane thing that this movie even exists to begin with. And it's incredible. It is so beautiful, so fast, and trotting across so many different lands and biomes and ecosystems, all for a very, very simple and intimate story. The crux being this MacGuffin of a device that can make the blind see. But that ties into so much of the narrative thematically. I love it. It's an A+. If you have 5 hours of your time, go watch it. No, but seriously, it is terrific. And then next, these are slipping a little bit. Don't want to make too much noise. Alright, perfect. Next, we have a film that I actually found at the Dollar Tree years ago called Upstream Color. It is a film directed by Shane Carruth, the man who did a film prior to this called Primer, which is a movie that a lot of people think is like one of the greatest sci-fi films to exist. But this movie, this movie's crazy. This movie's so crazy. It is cerebral, and I think the thing that I love so much about it is existent in a world that only works because of Shane Carruth, writer, director, editor, I think, stars in it with his at-the-time partner. Unfortunately, I do forget, but I kind of remember hearing that Shane Carruth was not a good person. So yeah, it's an A+ though. It's just like, man, it's just the price you pay. The admission into the amusement park that is Hollywood. Like, you love all these things, but unfortunately the people behind them are just like monsters. What a shame. It's really upsetting. But, huge course correction, my friends. And I mean huge. Because this next film is quite literally, I think, my favorite movie of all time. It's a film I've thought about every single day. A movie that no better way illustrates the vacant dread and loneliness of being a teenager with internet access and wanting to feel seen in a world that just feels like a deep abyss and a void, and all you have is the internet. We have We're All Going to the World's Fair, directed by Jane Schoenbrunn. This movie was made for about $10,000 to $20,000 and follows this girl named Casey as she initiates herself into this internet challenge called the World's Fair Challenge. And as she's doing so, she's uploading, and the movie just follows these logs, these entries of her uploading these videos. And she begins to kind of befriend this person online who takes an this is a man in his 40s, and that's all I'm gonna say. It's less than 80 minutes, but there really isn't anything that compares remotely close to it in terms of what it can capture with what little money it has behind it. And money doesn't make a good movie. This movie blew me away, and it's from the same director who did I Saw the TV Glow, which, so sorry guys, spoiler alert, is by far my favorite movie of last year. God only knows what Jane Schoenbrunn is going to do next. It's an A+, guys. I feel like 80% of these, it's either I haven't seen A+, or like 5 that are anything but. But our second to last movie, an endearing, what was going to be send-off. Do some tapping. We have Hayao Miyazaki's, come on, focus, my friend. The Wind Rises, in this really beautiful blue steelbook. You see, I thought, as did the world, as did Miyazaki, that it was going to be his final film. His send-off, his love letter, his ode, his opus to a filmography and a career that was going to and has shaped generations. And to me, it is his most real, his most down-to-earth, his most patient, if you will. And while I do think The Boy and the Heron is my favorite, The Wind Rises crushes me, because this, at the end of the day, is a film about pursuing love, but pursuing your craft and your passion, sacrifice, and what you will give up for the sake of love. It's amazing. It's, I think, his longest too, and I showed it to a friend and he didn't like it, and I don't blame him. I really don't. But like, good lord, is the movie oh my god, no, I really do think that, like, in my heart, this will forever be Miyazaki's final film in terms of, like, a send-off. But I say that considering that Boy and the Heron is my favorite. So it's an A+. It's an A freaking plus. But the last movie, my friends, we have made it all the way through. Probably accounted for 70 films. Oh my god, wait, let's see, how long do I think this video is going to be? I'm gonna guess this is like over 2 hours. I kinda hit it on the money though. Maybe it's like 2 hours on the mark, I don't know. Or maybe I suck at math. But what a great way to send it off. Then with Alfonso Cuarón's Y Tu Mama Tambien. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This movie's amazing. I could not possibly articulate just how beautiful this movie is, other than the fact that it stars Diego Luna, it stars Gael Garcia, and it has, oh my god, Mercedes from Pan's Labyrinth. What is her name? I'm so sorry, I'm typically really good with names. Maribel Verdú, as it is a pseudo coming of age film, a pseudo coming to terms film. But again, Alfonso Cuarón, Guillermo del Toro, two Spanish filmmakers who just, they wear their hearts on their sleeve in fantastical elements, in realistic elements. I feel like this movie should be watched by everyone coming of age, and although it isn't your atypical conventional film, it is still so brilliant. So brilliant. I cry, I laugh, and knowing where all of these actors' careers kind of go from here is kind of just poetry. So yeah, it's an A+. It is, without question, an A+. So there you have it, my friends. We've come on this journey. No, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to speak in like hieroglyphs or poetry. I am just, again, movies, I not only think about the movies themselves, but like every day that I record in that corner over there, I think about every single movie that I get a look at, and I can almost guarantee I remember where I got them around the time I did. And I'm like, dude, I'm so grateful, ultimately. Sorry, I'm just like, it feels so beautiful to talk movies with you guys. And although, as I was saying earlier, if you got this far, thank you, by the way, that there is no way I would have ever expected to make content for anyone that I love, that you may equally as love too. It means a lot to me. So thank you for sticking around. Again, I have a whole bottom row of DVDs that are huge nostalgia. And I do think that like this will probably be the longest video out of this new revamped series, because I definitely will like itemize the shelves and take it like one bite at a time. Oh, speaking of which, sorry, that's like so coinciding with my outro, but I love you guys. Thank you for watching a guy that started at the beginning of a video standing on a stool, and now he's sitting on the stool in the corner of his room, talking about the things that he loves and gives him purpose, just like you do for me. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed. I love you all so very much. I'm gonna go to bed now. It's like 3:30 in the morning. I started this at like 12. Why do I do this to myself? Because I love you guys. I do, seriously. So, my friends, I'm gonna hit the hay.